Very exciting news for Raquel Pennington. We haven't seen her in quite some time, but she is coming back and she is fighting for the belt. She is kind enough to be joining us on the phone right now. Raquel, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Congratulations on getting the fight. When did you find out officially 100% that this was going down?
It's actually been in the talks for a long time. Everybody knew that me and Amanda were supposed to fight back in December, but then I got into that accident and broke my leg. So then that one was off. And then we have been in the talks since probably the start of Tisha's fight camp, like weeks ago. And we've just kind of been going back and forth trying to negotiate a contract and get that all set in stone. And then it was supposed to be set in stone before Cyborg actually fought. So there was a little frustration due to that. But after I reached out to everybody at UFC, it was kind of just Dana making his comment at the press conference. Everybody else said it was news to them. So right after that is when I eventually got my contract sent to me. So obviously it's been locked in and then officially announced.
How did you react when you heard those comments after 222? Were you getting a little nervous that this might be taken away from you?
It's not the fact that I would say nervous, because I believe that everything's going to happen the way that it's meant to happen. And I've been through a lot in my career. Regardless, my ultimate goal is that championship. And whether I have to detour a little bit more, like, nobody's going to stop me. It did get a little frustrating because it's been in talks. So I have to admit I was frustrated with it, and I started making calls right away because I don't find that very fair at all. I think I've definitely earned this spot, and I think that fight deserved to be mine. So the fact that they're just wanting to see a super fight really pissed me off, given the fact that Cyborg's in a completely different division, and then you're trying to take the champion from our division and create this huge super fight. Like, you just want another girl with another name or two Brazilians? Like, what's happening here? So there was a lot of frustration there, but it's kind of one of those things that it's not really in your control. So why let it bother you so much?
No secret, and he's talked about this openly. Dana White is a very big fan of yours. So I kept thinking, like, why would he do this to Raquel? Were you thinking the same? Did you reach out to him when he said that?
Um, I did. I made a few phone calls to just kind of everybody, the matchmakers, a few people in UFC to kind of see what was going on and figure out what was going on. It was a little frustrating. It was a little surprising to see that happen. But, I mean, I know I'm not the only fighter that questions go up with, or they get fights taken away from them, or different things like that. So it's the business. When it comes down to business, man, it's not fun. We go out there and we put our lives on the line, and obviously we're all that crazy in some shape or form to be chasing this passion and doing it. But at the same time, like, sometimes it's not always fair for us.
So, you said that, just the idea of Cyborg fighting Nunes, it's BS. Were you saying, like, just like the fact that it's even being thrown out there is what bothered you? Like, it's one thing to explore it, but to even, like, actually consider this when there are top contenders waiting, does that notion in itself bother you as well?
The part that bothers me is the fact that Cyborg's in a completely different division. She's at 145. She's not in our division. And all of us who have been working hard, who have been sitting here waiting for this position, or me, myself, coming back from injuries, who I feel I have definitely earned my position. I've sat here and I've grinded my way to the top and done things. It hasn't been an easy career for me. So I feel like this was something that I definitely deserved. And to just all of a sudden another fight in a completely different division, and it's like, oh, well, we're going to make a super fight. Like, I don't get why all these super fights or these interim titles and all this stuff is happening. Like, to me, it kind of feels like the worth is being taken away a little bit, I guess you can say, from the championship belts and stuff like that, just because it's just so much stuff is being thrown around. And sometimes it feels more of entertainment than it does for a sport. But I mean, at the end of the day, whatever's bringing money in for them. And you know what, like I said, I mean, there's some things that are just out of your control, and you got to kind of just go with the flow with it.
Usually when someone fights for the belt, they're on a roll, they're streaking, they've won a bunch in a row. You have won a bunch in a row. You've won 4 in a row, but your last fight was in November of 2015. Is this not exactly the ideal scenario for you to be out for that long and then fight for the belt? Would you have rather, in a perfect world, of course, you said you got injured, there's all kinds of things that happen in life, but would you have rather had, some more activity before fighting for the belt recently?
I've been an athlete my entire life. I mean, I've gone through different injuries. I've come back and I've went and played basketball championships. I've done amount of different things, and I think it's all in your mind. A lot of people, some people do believe in ring rust, and it can be a real thing. But the thing is for me, like I've been out for 18 months, okay, but technically I haven't really been out. I've been cornering Tisha. I've been a main training partner for her aside my injuries. And even with that, I'm such an ambitious person that when I did get injured, if my leg was broken, I was still in the gym doing something upper body. I'm just the type of person that I don't let things stop me. So in some shape or form, I've been pushing through. And then the fact of coaching other athletes, I work a lot with Sharon Jacobson as well, and she fights for Invicta. And, it's like working with all these females or being around the female athletes or even just going to all the training sessions. Like I wasn't just sitting at home doing nothing and eating food and hanging out this whole time. I've been mentally training. I've been doing different things, and I've learned a lot about myself as an athlete and as just an individual. So the fact in that and the fact of how I've been able to get my mind right this whole time, I think that's a dangerous thing by itself.
For those that don't know, you mentioned the injury. It's an unbelievable thing. To me, it's amazing that you're even able to fight in May. Could you tell us exactly what happened?
Um, so, what was it? Back in October, I've been hunting ever since I was 7 years old. Huge outdoors girl. We've never had any crazy things happen, and I guess it was just kind of one of those freak accidents. But we were hunting all morning. We were coming down from the mountain in our side by side. It was snowing, and we went to go turn the corner. The side by side got top heavy, and it flipped on my side. I feel very confident that I could have made my way out, but I had my rifle in between my legs. And so when I tried to jump out as it was rolling, the rifle caught my left leg and it kind of, it pulled me from being able to jump all the way out. So with that, the roll cage ended up coming over. It smashed my leg completely. My cousin fell out of the driver's seat on top of me and then crawled out. They lifted the side by side and I dragged myself out. And, I knew something was wrong. I have a crazy pain tolerance and a lot of things don't really hurt, but it was one of the weirdest feelings. And I was more worried about the fact that I tore everything in my knee. I was wearing really heavy duty boots that went really high. But, and then just the burning sensation, I knew maybe I broke something or it felt like my bone came out of my skin. Wasn't really sure. And of course, being in the mountains, I had lots of layers on. So we had to rush down about 45 minutes to the hospital. And when they started getting all my clothes off and scoping it out, my calf looked like a complete half pipe. Like you look like you can go do some skateboarding and some snowboarding on that thing. It was crazy. And my knee was completely swollen and they ended up doing an MRI. They did x-rays. My fibula turned out to be broken and then waiting for the MRI results. Luckily, I have no idea how, but I didn't tear anything in my knee. And the way that my calf looked, you would have thought I tore everything. And the doctor said that if I tore my calf, there was no way to really fix it because there's no attachment points in the back of the knee. So it's basically like trying to sew hamburger meat together. It doesn't work. So I would have been screwed there, but that didn't turn out to be the case. And then they told me that I lucked out with the fact that I had really heavy duty boots on, because if I would have shattered multiple places in my lower leg, then I would have been a higher risk for amputation.
Oh,
so,
whoa.
It was devastating with the fact that I was lined up for the world title shot. But then after I realized how bad the situation could have been, it put everything into perspective for me. And I was just grateful for being able to basically be alive and be able to still have my leg to where I can still have this opportunity. So.
And you didn't have surgery, right?
No, I didn't end up having surgery. I ended up in a brace, and I was on crutches for a while, and I spent a whole lot of time in the physical therapist's office. And let me tell you, my shoulder surgery was a pretty tough one to come back from, but that calf injury, that was a different kind of pain.
Wow. And how does it feel now?
Feels great. I mean, it's weird. Like we've done a lot of conditioning to it. We've conditioned my leg back up and it feels like nothing ever happened to it. I lost a lot of feeling in the back part of my leg. So I actually can't feel the back side of my leg, which we've made jokes as far as kicks and all this other stuff. Of course, I'm not going to be a dummy and just take a million kicks to my leg. But
yeah.
we've played with those ideas and joked around about them and stuff. But other than that, I mean, my calf is like a rock. You feel it. And some days it's like a rock. Other days it still likes to fall in and do weird things. But It doesn't hurt. There's no crazy sensation, and I still go to physical therapy.
Uh, at some point, is the physical therapy going to end soon, as you prepare for the fight, or is that something that you're going to have to do for quite some time?
So the physical therapy for me is just kind of maintenance. It's not something that I have to do or whatnot. It's more maintenance for me. Physical therapy, and I'm a huge believer of recovery and listening to your body, and especially being a professional athlete. I mean, we got to take care of ourselves, and I could have pushed through and taken fights or whatever, and been like, okay, I could have been stubborn and mentally strong and done everything, and just having that will, but I want longevity. I don't want to just step up and fight another fight and then that be the end. So I've just kind of taken the time, and now I use it as just my recovery. I'll go in and they'll work on things. And then of course the scar tissue, there's a lot of scar tissue, and apparently my body likes to develop scar tissue pretty quick. So
Okay.
they just go in and they break it down and stuff.
At any point, maybe at the beginning of all of this, did you think that your career might be over?
When I initially first hurt my leg and when I was going to the doctors and figuring out everything, I was pretty terrified that they were going to give me some bad news. And I've just always had that fear of a knee injury. I've seen a lot of people go through knee injuries, and both my parents and stuff like that. So I didn't really want to experience that and have another setback, given the fact that I already had 3 major surgeries after my fight with Miesha Tate was enough for me. So yeah, I have to say that fear was set in, but as I started getting the good news, I mean, it was important for recovery.
What a story, because as you said, you've been doing this for a while and you've been through, the ups and the downs, and to be so close to a title shot and then this happened, I can't imagine what that was like mentally, right? I mean, there were some talks of you fighting in December, right? For the belt, and then this obviously delayed
hmm
it. That must have been crazy to deal with initially, that you were so close to finally fighting for the belt and then this freak injury happens.
Yeah, for sure. I will admit it definitely broke me mentally for a little bit. I had an emotional roller coaster, but I have a great coaching staff and my family and friends, and then of course Tisha. And then it was pretty cool because after my injury was announced and stuff, I had a lot of other athletes that were in Invicta or even the UFC. Some girls in my division, girls in other divisions, or even just the guys. I had a lot of athletes just personally reach out to me over the social nets or on my personal phone and just give me a lot of encouraging words. So, after I was in a slump for a little while, and then I started getting the better news, and then I started seeing different things, and I just became more grateful, and I was able to pull myself out of that. But it's tough when you go from so many months off and being taken. I didn't think it was going to be hard to be taken out of something that I loved. It was just some downtime, and in my mind, it was like, okay, right shoulder surgery, I could still do stuff with my left hand. But when the doctor shut me down to everything, that was a lot. So then coming back, I was hungrier than ever and more motivated. And then all of a sudden that freak accident happened. And it was like my last straw. Like I couldn't deal with it anymore. And then something just really changed. And now it's like, talk about the motivation and the hunger. It's on a whole new level.
Because you almost lost it, right?
For sure.
Yeah, that's amazing how that works. You mentioned Tisha. Tisha and Amanda are friends, right? They used to train for a very long time at ATT. Is is
Mhm.
is that a benefit to you? Like, can she tell you a lot about Amanda? Is this weird at all? I know Amanda was recently at her fight in Orlando, rooting for her, and not a fellow Brazilian and Jessica Andrade. How does this dynamic help you?
It's not one of those things. You can say that we're all friends. I mean, I know Amanda too. I've known Amanda for years. We fought on Invicta, and we've hung out outside the sport and everything. So it's kind of one of those things to where it's friendship on the outside, business on the inside type thing. And I mean, given the fact, okay, yeah, Tisha and Amanda have been really good friends and they've trained together and everything. I'm not that type of person to be like, hey, give me the insight, do this, that, or another. Like, I've always been the type of athlete that I focus on what I can control and what I do. And I do observe my opponents and I see things. I feel like I have a very high IQ in fighting. And so I don't need to be that type of person to be like, you know what, Tisha, let's sit here and break down Amanda to the fullest. Tell me every little thing you know about her. Like, I don't do that. Me and Tisha we have our personal life together, and then she's my training partner, and I use her to put in some work or whatever. And then I have my other training partners, and she'll give me my encouragement, or she'll just be up front and be like, you're absolutely terrible today. Let's do this or whatever and whatnot. But it's never been one of those moments that I'm like, hey, break down Amanda for me. Because at the end of the day, like, I've never had that before to do that. And I've gotten myself this far in my career. And if I focus more on Amanda, what's it really going to do for me? I need to focus
Right.
on me and continue to progress as my own self.
By the way, did you guys set a wedding date yet?
Yeah, we keep talking about a fall wedding, and so we set for September 15th. But I don't know how we're gonna pull this one out because we really want that. And but then she had a fight, she's lined up. Now I have my fight, and then we have some trips coming up. We have a bunch of other things that are on the schedule, and then 10 days before we want to even get married is my 30th birthday. So it's just like, I don't know what we're doing here. So we'll see what happens.
Wouldn't
One
it be
thing at a
something?
time.
Yeah, yeah, but it would be so great to be, at your wedding as UFC champion. What an amazing thing that would be. That was your first time cornering her in a loss, right? Back in February. Was that your first time that you've been together and that she lost a fight?
Yeah, I've known Tisha for years, ever since she started her professional career. And so, I mean, I've been around her, and we fought on the same card when she took her first loss to Rose in Florida. And then now actually being in her corner, that was the first one.
Was
But,
that difficult?
I think it's difficult in general. It's funny because I think I was more nervous for Tisha than she was nervous for herself. Like, to go into this, and when you're walking into Octagon, the emotions that you experience are just, they're indescribable. And it was funny because I caught myself in the locker room actually like performing like certain techniques to calm down because I was nervous for her. And it wasn't that I don't believe in her. It's just that, man, when you care about somebody and then they're getting ready to go out there and you're watching from the outside, it's hard. I was like, I don't know about this, Tisha. I don't know if I can corner you anymore.
um, but just being there and not being able to help, that's probably the hardest part, right? Like you're seeing it happen and you probably want to go in there and do something about it yourself, correct?
Um, Yes and no. I mean, I love watching Tisha perform. She's a hell of an athlete, and she's fun to watch, and I believe in her to the fullest. So, I mean, yeah, just because I care, I don't want to see her get hurt, but I also like to see her shine on her own. And even though she took a loss to Jessica Andrade, I don't feel like it was necessarily a loss for her. I feel like Tisha proved a lot to herself, and her too. I feel like she's on a different mission right now, and she just keeps getting better and better each fight.
By the way, I know this may be a crazy question considering what we talked about at the beginning, but do you dream of that Cyborg fight as well? It seems like the 135-pound champ is always kind of in the mix for her. Is that something that interests you, or do you not want that based on what you said earlier about this being more entertainment than sport? How do you feel?
I don't really care. Everybody brings a different challenge to you, and I mean, Cyborg, yeah, she's built a reputation for herself. She's known as the most dangerous woman on the planet. She hasn't lost since 2005, and she's going out there and she's destroying girls. And she has this 145-pound division, and I don't like to take credit away from anybody or anything, and I feel like everybody deserves their position. But for me right now, like, I honestly don't feel like the 145-pound division makes a whole lot of sense because there's just not they're not bringing in any athletes. And so it's like they're pulling people out of the 135 division and whatnot. But I mean, speaking for myself, Cyborg, she's just another female. And yeah, she's a little bit heavier. I walk heavier normally. So, I mean, it wouldn't be something that I'm going to say that I push to the side. I'm more than definitely willing to go out and fight her one day.
Okay. All right. Well, first things first, UFC 224, May 12th in Rio de Janeiro. I wish you the best, Raquel, and I'm glad to see that common sense prevailed, that they stuck to their word, they kept their promise, and they gave you the title fight. Thanks for joining us. Good luck in training. Hopefully, the foot continues to heal, the leg, I should say. And, of course, good luck in the fight.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Good talking
All
to
right.
you.
Yep, as always, there she is, Raquel Pennington, stopping by, the number one contender in the UFC's women's bantamweight division.